forums. And with me is Letitia Fedora, our general manager.
Hi, everybody.
It's great to be with you today to talk about scaling electrical services with technology. And we're looking forward to hearing your questions about the presentation. So without further ado, I'd like to get started. What everybody really looks forward to in the realm of, quite frankly, not only electrical service and maintenance, but just about any business, is recurring revenues. And recurring revenues are the sort of thing that probably don't require any definition. They're right at the top of things which we look for in service and maintenance work. I would say that the only thing that really goes to the top of the list ahead of them is the idea of having a customer who is the owner of a facility. And so working with a customer as an owner of a facility and having the benefit of recurring revenues, with service and maintenance, you have the added advantage of predictable profitability. And it's something which is another one of those advantages when you are in the realm of service and maintenance. And of course, we all know that there's far less risk in service and maintenance than there is in new construction. And we'll talk about that some more. And just like new construction, there's additional work opportunities that come along with it. A lot of people like to think about service and maintenance as recession proof. Nothing is purely recession proof, but it's better than most of what we'll find in new construction. Now, when we talk about recurring revenues, I think most folks are used to the idea that just means that there'll be a flow of dollars that come in every year, year after year, after year, after year. And we've seen many situations like that, all of us, in our business history. And I'll just stop on year 8 here. Quite frankly, most of us probably can go back to opportunities over the years where we've gone much farther than 8 years with a customer. As much as we love long-term recurring revenues, it really requires more than that to go where we want to go in this business, for the simple reason that recurring revenues also are something that you'll see your barber has. If you go in for a massage from time to time, your massage therapist has recurring revenues. Your doctor has recurring revenues. And quite frankly, an awful lot of electrical contractors have recurring revenues. But that doesn't mean that we're talking about recurring revenues that grow from year to year. So recurring revenues of themselves are just wonderful to have, and we all like having them. But the reality is, over the long haul, what we really want to have is scalable recurring revenues. Recurring revenues that won't just stay at one particular level from year to year, but over the long term will grow and become more than just whatever they were last year. And so what we're really looking for is something like this, where from year to year, and I've represented it here with manpower, so to speak, your recurring revenues climb. Now, if that looks like a steep climb up, the reality is that every time you add a few people in the field, eventually you're going to be adding a few people in the office. So recurring revenues have that implication, but the reality is you really can't do this. You really can't scale them without the kind of software product that really will get you there, because most of all, recurring revenues demand you to have something like, well, let me put it this way. You can't do it with a whiteboard. You can't do it with an Excel spreadsheet. And quite frankly, you can't do it just relying upon your own memory. There's a great byproduct that comes from all of this if you do have that kind of software, which we're talking about for your service and maintenance business, because that's what's required to have those growing recurring revenues. And the big byproduct of that is consistency in the delivery of your services. You know, we all see trucks going up and down the road every day with the words excellence or something like that on them. And that's wonderful, except that the reality is that consistency eats excellence for breakfast. What your customers are going to be looking forward to is consistent delivery of what you do. I'm sure along the way, a lot of that's going to be excellent, but the reality is it's consistency that means the most. And that leads us to three big takeaways, which I'd like to get into at this point. And the first one is that the starting point for all this is the structure of your organization, because with a structure, you're going to create a built-in competitive advantage. And this is the way in many companies, not just electrical contractors. If you perform new construction and service-related work, and you structure your company properly, one side, so to speak, can feed the other. And what that means is your new construction and your service operation, if they're working cooperatively and in a complementary fashion, can feed each other. So if you have a new construction project and you get to a certain point as you're approaching the end of it and you introduce your service organization to that customer, you're going to have an opportunity to have a long-term service relationship, say in a building. If you add up the dollars over the lifetime of that building, the reality is there'll be at least 6 or 7 times as much, if not more, revenue over the life of that building than there was in the original construction. And I'm going to say it's going to be more than that. So once you are established as a service maintenance provider, you're also going to have the opportunity to, quite frankly, be the favored contractor when other opportunities for construction additions or whatever it is on that facility come up. Takeaway number 2 is systems. You can't do this without systems, and your systems, in addition to everything else, will reduce your costs and improve your profits. Now, what do we mean by that? Well, as you grow and as you scale your revenues, if you are doing this with the benefit of the right kind of service and maintenance software, you can scale without without having that kind of cost increase, which will naturally come unless you have some way of really managing the work well. As well, that translates into better profits. So really and truly, what you're looking at here is systems which will allow you to monitor what you're doing between your new construction activities and your service and maintenance activities, and how you are attaching new opportunities from one side to the other. And once again, it's not something that you can do without the right kind of support and the right kind of service and maintenance software that will allow you to do it. And finally, takeaway number 3 is staffing. Now, let me stop right here and say that that's not the way most contractors get involved in the service and maintenance business. Usually it's a result of new construction on some sort of facility. And at the end, the customer will say, hey, could you have one of your foremen or somebody stay to do some little bits of work here and there that we like to do now that the job's done, but we like them to hang around. And that, quite frankly, is the way that most electrical contractors found themselves in the service business. I don't want to say entirely by accident, but that's the way it evolves for most contractors. And what we're thinking about in this case is staffing coming last. And that is after you have a structured organization and after you have the systems in place, that's when you're going to start attracting, as we'll say, tomorrow's heroes today, with the opportunity to show somebody who is interviewing with your company that you have this great kind of organizational setup and the support to go with it. You're going to attract some talented people. And so our pitch today is, quite frankly, for most contractors who are already in the service and maintenance business to some extent, seeing how you can take it even further with the support of the kind of software products that we're talking about. Now, one thing for sure, the electrification of everything has already begun. We read about this every day, about electric vehicles, cars and trucks and motorcycles and what have you, and how more and more we're going to be heating buildings with electricity, where we're doing it another way right now, where we're going to be doing so many more things purely electrically. And with that comes a warning. And that is, that doesn't necessarily mean this is all new work for electrical contractors. There's going to be plenty of people looking at this opportunity, particularly as we start to get into more low voltage opportunities, new developments in low voltage. We'll see a lot more people involved. So this is something which, although on the surface of it looks like a great thing for us in the future, I think we have to be very cautious about. And that, quite frankly, leads us into solution. And that is, you can select a proven, an all-in-one software like BuildOps to power the growth of your service business. You can scale it. And in the case of scaling it, you'll be scaling it with recurring revenues that continue to rise. Now, what that means is more and more you'll be in direct contact with the customers who are the owners of facilities, because that's the nature of service and maintenance work. You're not working through an intermediary. You're not working through a general contractor or somebody else. You have direct contact with a customer. And at the end of the day, the most fundamental thing that anybody needs in a business is a customer. And that's where you'll have a linkage as a result of having the benefit of being competent in service and maintenance and being able to scale a business and make it a more and more important part of your business. So with that, I'd like to let that serve as an introduction and thank you, and ask if you could join us with some Q&A.
Fred, I had a question come in. Someone was asking, how many service electricians should you have before you consider a service software like BuildOps?
If you're looking for an absolute number, quite frankly, that depends on lots and lots of things. But I'm going to say anybody who right now is saying we are providing service, and that is one of the descriptions on the side of their service fans, they're ready for it. It is something which, quite frankly, you have to get into as soon as you can. And so I would say with, in the case of 90% of all electrical contractors, if they're doing anything called service and they're advertising that capability, that they're big enough for it. I haven't given you an absolute number, but I am saying that if you are in it, it's time to look.
Fred, I think that sometimes the smaller contractors even benefit more because their service manager is typically working in the office and in the field. And so that opens up a lot more of his time.
And that's right. And so that's almost self-defining, wouldn't you say so, Letitia?
Definitely.
So I hope that answers the question. And I think, and Letitia, incidentally, is coming from a background of a journeyman electrician, which she still is. As a matter of fact, not only has that background, but actually continues to teach in the apprenticeship training program in her local union. So she's pretty much in touch with things as they're going on right now. Another question.
Thank you. Yes, we have another one that came through that said, what are the top 2 or 3 things that you need to look for in a service software?
Well, what do you need in a service software? I think the first thing you should probably look at is the company who's offering it, because it is a question of both the company and the product. And in doing so, you're basically looking at how it was developed. How did it get to where it is today? And so is this something which was an afterthought by a company that had another kind of software who added it on at the last minute? Or is this something which from the word go was what they set out to do? And incidentally, when did they do it? Here we're in a realm where it makes a big difference of when the product was originated and how it was done. So you don't really have to be a computer expert to delve into that, but the reality is that's something which will make a big difference in what you're going to be working with. The second thing is just the look and feel of it, and you can demo these things. And how do you feel with it when you're operating it? You certainly don't want to look like it's something that you're going to be uncomfortable with, so to speak. And so I think that having a demo and asking the questions and getting into it is one of those things you have to do. It's like taking a test drive in a car or anything else. You have to have the right feel for it. And Letitia, I think you probably have a couple ideas on that too.
I do. I think talk to other companies that have been onboarded with the same software, because I think success really comes at the onboarding stage. If you're really familiar with the software, you have somebody that's really shown you how to use it properly, you're going to be a lot more comfortable with it. So I think that would be first. And I also think, look at the size of your company and the add-ons that you would need to have in your software.
Now, how does it mesh with what you have, the other things you have? Because after all, you want these things to mesh.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope that helps answer the question.
That's it for questions.
Okay, well, thank you all very much for your attention. At Great Service Forums, this is what we're all about. And strictly, this is what we're all about: service and maintenance, and helping contractors who are good at it to get even better at it. So thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.